Drive today, we ride the latest Triumph Street Triple R, find out what's new in the Hyundai Aura and visit Tata Motors' first vehicle scrappage facility, Tata Motors Rewire. Hello and welcome to Overdrive. I am Soini Dutt. Triumph has introduced 3 new models in its very popular Street Triple lineup, and one of the motorcycles that we are riding today is the Street Triple R. We're going to find out whether these incremental changes make it a very compelling buy in 2023.
In the world of street-naked motorcycles, the Triumph Street Triple holds a very special place. Its compact dimensions, its fruity engine, its lean bodywork and very comfortable ergonomics make it one of the friendliest street nakeds out there. As before, there are the R and RS models to choose from. And while the S variant was only deleted from the Indian lineup a few years back, it has now been given the boot altogether in the new model line. Its spot is filled in by the Trident, which also brings back fond memories of the Street Triple 675. But in comparison, the new Street Triples are meaner, quicker and more powerful. And like the last generation, the Street Triple R is yet again the variant that most will choose from in this model line. This isn't an all-new bike, but there are so many changes that it qualifies as one. The stance is more aggressive, and while it's instantly recognizable as a Street Triple with its bug eyes and skinny silhouette, the new model can be identified with its leaner and more angular bodywork, with tank extensions that now sit much closer to the tank, almost creating the effect of a side fairing. The tail section is also much sleeker now, and you get a tiara in place of the previous model's crown. The chassis is exactly similar to the outgoing model, but employs a more aggressive rake angle and a shorter wheelbase than before. To go with the compact dimensions, the tank is smaller too at 15 litres. The flatter profile of the tank has made way for a more pronounced dome, and attaching the tank bag on the fuel filler ring will place it quite tall and close to your chest. Now, the standard seat height of 826mm for my height of 5 feet 8 feels quite easy to get on and off the motorcycle. It's very manageable even in parking spaces. Getting both your feet flat on the ground at my height, not a problem at all. But if you need a shorter seat, there is a low seat option which drops the seat height by a further 28mm. If you manage to ride the previous Street Triple and the new one back to back, you may realize that the latter feels a bit more agile. So be it the narrow lanes of India or the B roads or your favorite twisties, you will always park the motorcycle grinning. It feels easy to maneuver in tight spots. It also feels breezy around U-turns, as breezy as before if not better. But you'll be astonished to find that a minimal 12mm increment on the handlebar can offer so much more leverage. In fact, you'll have to try the old bike and the new one back to back to know what I'm saying. The Street Triple remains one of the easiest middleweight bikes to ride in the city and on the highway. But when on the highway, you will realize that the shorter crown doesn't really offer much wind or weather protection. The weather in Spain was quite chilly during our ride, so the engine only felt comfortably warm and cozy even in the slow-moving conditions, but is likely to turn up the heat in the Indian traffic, and your thighs will continue to feel the brunt of it. There's also a new exhaust system which is common across the range. It's now one single unit from the header pipe to the tailpipe. You cannot have different parts. You can't have just a slip-on. You will have to change the entire system or you'll have to run modifications. So again, best of luck with that. There are 4 riding modes to choose from: the regular, rain, road and sport, and a user configurable mode. And as you would expect, the rain mode is the most docile and restricts the power output to around 100 PS. Now, the modes can be changed on the fly. There is no track mode, which is of course exclusive to the RS. But you may have noticed that the instrumentation is similar to the Tiger Sport 660. Of course, cheaper bikes than the Street Triple R, they were still getting a more advanced instrumentation, so this ought to have come by now. But what I really missed from that older analog unit on the Street Triple R are those blue shift lights. Especially when riding hard, they were always in your peripheral vision, guiding you when to shift. Here, it's not the same. I miss that. The engine makes 2 PS more now, which would be hard to notice even if you ride the old and the new Street Triple R back to back. We didn't really have complaints about the previous motor, but the new one edges ahead with a slightly crisper throttle response. That said, the throttle response doesn't feel as crisp as it is on the RS. The engine certainly feels a lot more refined than before, and 10 PS difference between the R and the RS may not seem like much, but that throttle response, that is where the difference is quite evident even if you engage the sport mode. Now I remember on the previous Street Triple R, it got a little buzzy after about 9,000 RPM. I don't know if the Indian fuel is to blame for that, but this one seems to have ironed that out. The entire rev range feels quite smooth. There are no patches or zones in between where you will feel a lot of buzzy performance. We've seen that on some of the newer Triumph engines, but here it just feels super refined, creamy smooth. The red line is still at the same 12,650 RPM. But it is the mid-range pull that is considerably better, especially in the third, fourth and fifth gears. There's also less intrusion from the electronics thanks to a new IMU that comes from Continental. It ensures that the traction control system isn't as paranoid or as intrusive as before. The Pirelli Rosso 3 tyres from the previous R have made way for these new Continental Conti Road. Now the tyre sizes remain the same. As far as the rubber goes, I really didn't have any complaints riding around quite hard here in Spain. The suspension hardware is more or less similar to the outgoing Street Triple R, meaning that you get Showa's 41mm big piston separate function forks that are individually adjustable for rebound and damping using the specialty tool provided by Triumph. The braking hardware remains unchanged too. I'm a fan of the M4.32 brakes on the previous model. I think they work excellent on the road, and they continue to do so even with the new model. That said, there is now a combined ABS system with the new IMU, which analyzes the force that you apply at the front lever and automatically applies a bit of the rear brakes to maintain balance and composure. So even if your suspension is set up to a softer setting, there isn't too much nosedive to complain about. So the new Street Triple R may look very aggressive on the outside, but it is still that friendly middleweight street naked that we've loved over the years. Now becoming more powerful and safer than before, it certainly poses a threat to its competition, the more premium competition from Germany, Italy and even Austria. And at the same time, it manages to offer more bang for the buck than the Japanese competition.
We'll take a very quick break here on the show, but coming up on the other side, we tell you all about the updated Hyundai Aura.